Okay, I'm back with another audio review. I know you're excited. We are our audio review number 5. And I'm going to keep talking like this until... no, seriously, I'll quit doing that. Okay, so I went through the IMDb list, did a little skimming, and what did I find? But what clearly looks like a film filled with family delight. So pop that Jiffy Pop. Sit your hinder down on your cushy couch and prepare for a scare. Yeah, actually, not really. This is bloody murder. Yeah. So, as we began our magnificent opus with a gaggle of teenagers in an SUV traveling to their summer job as camp counselors to Camp Placid Pines. God, if it only was Flaccid Forest, that would have been funnier. To prep for the onslaught of bouncy, sugar-ridden youngsters from which they will all be responsible for. As they write down, they begin their scintillating dialogue that just feels like it was stolen from every ladder Friday the 13th. Seriously, they even have a ghost story of a kid, Trevor Morehouse, whose father was the head counselor, and little Trevor constantly tattled on any kid working there if they were slacking, fooling around, or partaking in a spliff or even so much as a cocktail. It was said that he was drowned years ago, and nobody was ever found. Later on, there were tales of kids going there and never coming back. Does any of this sound vaguely familiar? So, following true to the tired formula, the kids split off, do their chores, and slowly but surely the cast is methodically killed off by a guy in a jumpsuit and a hockey mask, correct? Yeah, here's where that takes a turn. The little fella in question is extremely thin. The jumpsuit they put him in looks incredibly baggy, and frankly, it wouldn't scare a kid because it looks like he's out cosplaying in the woods. Our local law enforcement, of course, as always in these slasher films, are inept at doing paperwork, let alone dealing with a serial killer of such awesome cunning and capabilities that they play a round of red herring with one of the cast. So the premise is pretty simple. The dialogue feels like it's been yanked from almost every low-budgeted slasher flick from the 80s, having Friday the 13th envy. The acting is more wooden than the plank that they should have all been walking off of, and apparently the kills pretty much had to rely on a tight, out-of-frame focus, and only 3 simplistic gore gags that I saw. The fake blood could have used some black dye in it, and I know they were attempting to make this part ghost story, part suspense, but they had so much exposition in it, it could have filled a novella. Shot in 35mm spherical and audio, of course, in stereo. I'm guessing that's all the community college was going to let these yahoos use. I'm sorry to say this, slasher films, but there's like next to no violence, as it is implied. I guess they really couldn't afford the effects. There is hardly any harsh or even suggestive language, and absolutely no nudity whatsoever. It kind of feels like you're on the kiddie ride of the slasher theme park. Now, to be honest, the editing was fair. Some of the jump cuts, as well as some of the scares, could have actually brought some genuine scares if they were shot maybe at night. Yeah, a lot of this is daylight hours. Let's see, what else would it help? Never ask your friends just to star in this, and try to bargain for some actual actors that'll get paid on the back end. The scene chewing of too much dialogue was continuing, and the fact that almost every counselor had someone close in their lives that died in their lives was just absurd, unnecessary, and frankly just too much in one film. Yeah, you could have the one who lost her brother and he was never found. Yeah, that's all you really need. So you got one person that's a little edgy and the rest you start weeding out. The potential was decent. You had a solid formula to operate on, but our young writer / director, John R. Stevenson, was just overcompensating due to a lack of experience. Stay tuned, I have more. Alright, and I'm back. I realized that was a really short one, so I kind of wanted to do a two-parter. So I'll talk about the one that was actually decent by comparison to the original. So we're going back to the standardized summer camp goodness to arrange camp counselors to repair and maintain the camps. What could possibly go wrong? With the isolation, next to no human contact, I mean, what is the likelihood that our young Tracy, a.k.a. Katie Woodruff of Bloody Murder 2, Closing Camps, and The Gallows Tree, having nightmares about her lost brother warning her off the camp? Could that have any significant meaning? And this would be Bloody Murder 2, Closing Camp. Now, once again, we are back at Placid Pines Camp, which is open for business in spite of all the horrors that happened in the previous film. I mean the incidents surrounding the years. Yes. As the kids are 3 days away from closing up, and yet a strange yet familiar happenings seem to occur. And all these kids seem to know a tale, if you will, about Trevor Morehouse. Insert Jason Voorhees tragedy. Let's make him a little tattletale, disfigured, and all that jazz. And now Trevor roams the woods, seeking revenge for those who wronged him. Bum, bum, bum. Rick, the caretaker, is almost done getting the place shipshape and is going to be closed for the season. He, of course, has his problem children, his horn dogs, his drinkers, his slackers, his boozers, but overall nothing really of issue until his new hire has suddenly disappeared, almost like he was brutally murdered with a machete or a rock. Sheriff Bumbles informs the kids that it's probably just a prank, but he'll leave one of his deputies out to coordinate and look around in case of trouble. One lone deputy. Two of the camp have already left due to the urban legend of Morehouse. And then, of course, we have the standard, let's make anyone who has ethnicity other than white people stereotypical and superstitious. And cruelly give her the name like Juanita. And she is tackling the sacred time-honored tradition of Friday the 13th's Crazy Ralph warning to absolutely no avail. I mean, the only thing they didn't do was just completely dismiss her and pat her on her head. Oh, Juanita, you so crazy. So with the cliches and the tropes mounting up, we have to have a sensitive guy who can't get laid by a good girl because she has issues of lost sibling, so he prowls around to girl with loose morals. The sheriff is handling a few murders that have already happened, but not really busting his ass to solve the overall plight. With a lockdown of the camp and the sheriff and his whopping 2 whole deputies. I don't see anything wrong in the foreseeable future. Yeah, with the exception of the unfortunate, stereotypical black guy dying horribly and getting splattered all over the walls. Yeah, seriously, that is getting really cliche. I'm tired of that trope. So as we continue on with yet another helping hand of red herring, all the evidence seems to point to Tracy's horny boyfriend. Did I say brother? Sorry about that. Horny boyfriend Mike, and the tight camera feed that Elvis set up. It looks bad for Mike. Is it the curse of Trevor Morehouse? Is it a myth? Were they myth-taken? Is it myth or mythter? Okay, a few side notes. So, overall, the flashback sequences are all handheld work and some pretty steady hands, I might add. They're only using one camera for blocking, and there's some actually decent orchestral soundtrack in it, plus some great practical effects, some just a cornucopia grab bag of gore gags. Unfortunately, of this cast, the only person I recognize is Tiffany Shepis, of such things like Nightmare Man, Thirsty, Blood Oath, Chainsaw Cheerleaders, Bonnie and Clyde versus Dracula, and The Maladjusted. Yeah, she's been in some serious B movies here. And she's playing the tough girl with feelings, and of course she's of easy morals. Yeah, I know, just simply means the girl wants to get laid. Yeah, automatically she's a whore. You know, what the hell is that about? But honestly, she's a fun addition and actually kind of brings the film a lot closer together. And while this film is vastly superior to the original Bloody Murder, it is still loaded with the cliche slasher goodness that we all hold dear. Overall, though, practical effects wise, we got some decent splatter effects. We've got people getting disemboweled, lopped into bits. It is a wider range and gives you more of a feel of what is the cliche slasher archetype. Still, all in all, not a bad flick, but not a great flick. And that's all I got. So again, folks, if you have any suggestions for me to review, maybe you want Sean to come in and review with me, maybe you've got some films I haven't seen, hey, that's very feasible. Shoot me a message in the comments, or hey, throw something up on Facebook, Rotten Reelz Reviews. Hit me up with Rotten Rambling On, also on Facebook, whichever works. Later.